That's what I love about Westgate. You guys, if one of these times we're going to do a service, and we're just going to have the greeting time for about a half hour, see if anybody notices. Because you guys love to talk. That's awesome. I want to say hey to the guys over, to my peeps over in the theater. What's going on, guys? We love you guys.
My daughter hates it when I say peeps because it's like way outside my age range.
Really?
Yeah.
So I'm referring to the Easter peeps.
Okay. You're good then.
Because there's a bunch of Easter peeps over there, so those are my peeps. Hey, you know, if you didn't notice, that song, a couple things, two reasons why we play that song. One, we just wanted to see if we can get away with it here at Westgate, and only at Westgate could you get away with party rock anthem rock.
You know, it was funny because last night at 5 o'clock, they were rocking.
They were dancing in the back. It was a little creepy.
Yeah.
Yeah. We had a dance. We had a rave going on in here, so it was kind of cool. We needed a disco ball. But the other reason why we did that is that we want to celebrate, and we want to have a party. And we realize there's all kinds of parties. We just came off Thanksgiving, which is a chance to give thanks. And as we begin to look at what we're giving thanks for, we realize that's a reason to celebrate. In my family, we need any excuse to have a party, we'll have one. But this is a chance to have a party, to celebrate. And we recognize that there's all kinds of parties. I'm just curious, just throw out a little audience participation. Throw out different kinds of parties that you guys...
Okay.
Birthday party.
Birthday party.
Football party.
Clearly.
He said that like football. Oh, all right. Cool. What else? What else we got?
Toga party.
Somebody said...
Yeah.
Did somebody say a bacon party?
A bacon party?
Was I invited? Why not?
Is there really such a thing as a bacon party?
That's awesome.
Wow.
Wait, hold on. Because people in the theater are doing the same thing, so I want to know, just everyone quiet for a second, what kind of party you'd have in the theater. I'm hearing Elvis party. That's what I'm hearing. All right. Okay, what else? That's a little weird, but all right. What other kinds of parties?
What? Land party? Land party?
That was a techno geek term, wasn't it? All right. Football guy, techno geek. All right. What else? What else we got? Oh, wait, what? Fight party.
Bike party? Bicycle party.
Bike party. Wow. I thought you said fight party. Fight club.
A lot of these aren't making our top 10, John.
No, they're not. All right, so we have a top 10 list of parties
Some did.
that we would want, that are just typical parties.
And we thought we'd give you a little visual to help you out with this, so...
First one is the Get Stupid party.
Yeah. You know what that is, the Get Stupid party, right?
Yeah. Tell us, Dan.
This is where, everybody has this and they just get stupid. It's the Are You Kidding Me party. Are you really doing that? What?
Go put your name on the cup.
You put your name on the cup?
Have you never been to a red cup party, Dan?
No, I have not.
And it's not good to lie in church, Dan.
All right.
So this is the Get Stupid, everything, it's crazy.
I'm surprised nobody mentioned
happened.
this one because it's a pretty popular one.
You're going to make me wear that again, aren't you?
You need to wear this, John. Here, you put that on.
Thank you.
If you could figure out how to put it on.
Wedding party.
Yeah.
I'm
like a bachelorette party or a bachelor party, but it leads to, a wedding party. There you go. That's good. That's good on you.
People get scrambling to get their cameras, so this shows up on Facebook. No, I submit that it will not.
You just changed your status.
Yes. I did. I'm married, and it's complicated.
Yeah. All right,
give me another party, Dan.
All right, here's one. This is a good one.
Very simple.
Graduation party, right? Okay.
I graduated from Sonoma State. That's awesome.
Cool.
Whoa, Dan, alcohol in church. What's going on?
Sorry.
What party is this?
Okay, yeah, or a dinner party, right? You bring something.
Dinner party.
New Year's Eve party.
That is fancy.
That is a fancy bottle, it is.
All
right, like in the theme of the New Year's Eve party, let's go ahead and do this.
Yes, the Christmas party.
Yeah. It's good.
Now, this is Santa on a Harley right here. That's kind of cool.
With jewels.
And it's bedazzled jewels.
Yes. Mine has shoulder pads.
Very 80s, Dan. Very 80s.
Yeah,
All right, let's keep going.
Buff enough. All right. Here's a fun one. We had fun with this last night. There's right underneath there. What do you think this represents? Beach party, but if you don't have a beach nearby.
Pool party.
Pool party. Woohoo!
Okay.
All right.
Please pay attention.
You guys are good. We basically took people out last night when we did that.
Yeah, some
All
lady
right.
was writing notes of which
Yeah.
parties and hit it right in the
Okay,
head.
so, we got this right here.
Oh, yes.
This guy right here. Exactly.
Wow, money.
Someone picked up on it. Housewarming party.
You get the plastic plant.
You do.
No, I'm
Actually,
just
it's
kidding. We
real.
need it next service.
It looks
so.
like it belongs there anyway.
Yeah.
Oh, here's one.
Oh, yeah. This one's very important. This is the office party. No.
No, yeah, right here. Yeah, this is the office party.
And you know, at the office party, you know, the copier's there.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
you take a picture of your face.
Yeah, yeah.
You thought I was going to say big butt.
And you were right anyway.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. And the
keep
last
going,
one
Dan.
is right there below you.
Oh, yeah. Happy birthday.
And someone mentioned that already, so birthday party. Looks nice. How old are you?
I'm old.
Okay.
All right, Dan.
So why? Why are we partying?
Partying. You know, we wanted to look at this year and just begin to recognize what is going on at Westgate and what God has opened up the doors for us to do. And as we begin to look at these just statistics, facts, numbers, all of a sudden we realize we need a reason to celebrate. That's a perfect reason. And not a reason that just says, hey, it just says, yay us, or yay you, or yay Westgate, but yay God. Because God is doing some amazing things in and amongst our faith community. And it's seeping out into the valley, and the valley is being changed by what God is doing here. And we're going through this story. We've been going through the story. And this isn't hey, we're stopping the story to talk about what's going on here. This is really putting it in perspective, putting the story in placement of the story is God's story, and we're connected to that. This is our story connected to what God's story in our lives. As we've gone through the story thus far, we've seen God's promise to create a people for himself, God's provision for those people, and then God's placement of his people in a specific region and a specific time. And that is us. We're in this time for a very specific thing in this valley. And the story, as we go through it, connects to our story here. So Dan's going to walk us through that and give us a little update on some things that are happening here at Westgate.
Thanks, John. You know, along the way, as God's people began to see his work among them, they were either compelled or they were commanded to remember what God was doing and what God had done. Up until the point where we left the story last week, we see several incidences where they were told to remember or they were compelled to remember what God was doing. And when they did that, they would do something rather unusual. They would take a stone and they would set up a memorial. These memorial stones were significant in the life of God's people for several different reasons. We saw that these memorial stones marked a significant, important stage of development in the relationship that God's people had with God. We also saw that they marked a particular turning point in that relationship that God had with them. We also see that God used memorial stones to remind his people about his faithfulness. And so when people would look upon the memorial stone, they would be encouraged to remain faithful and have trust and belief in what God could do because of what he had done in the past. And we also see that these stones were set up as reminders so that it could be a teaching moment for future generations. When they asked what the stone was about, it would be a way to retell the story of God's faithfulness. So today, we're going to kind of set up a few memorial stones and take a look at them as a way of seeing God's faithfulness in our church. And we kind of do this in our own personal life. We don't call them memorial stones. We call them milestones, which goes back to the ancient practice of setting up stones along the Roman highways so that people could see how far they had come or they could be reminded of where they are. And that's simply what we plan to do today. Up until this point, where we left off in 1 Samuel last week in the story, there are 5 particular incidences that God's people set up memorial stones. And I just want to take you through that real quick. The first one was Jacob at a little town called Bethel. He actually renamed the town because in a dream at night when he was staying there, God revealed himself coming in and out of heaven. And when Jacob woke the next morning, he was amazed at how beautiful the place was. And he said, surely God is in this place. So he named it the house of God. And the pillow which was actually a rock. It's not a very comfortable pillow. He slept on that night. He set that up as a memorial, and he called the place Bethel. The second time we see it happening is Moses, after receiving the law off of Mount Sinai, set up 12 stone pillars that represented the 12 tribes of Israel. And he basically said, this is a memorial to what God has given to us in his law. The third time it happened was after Joshua took his people, God's people, across the Jordan into the promised land. They set up 12 stones in the riverbed, and they put 12 stones up on the riverbank. And the reason for that is so that when future generations would come, they would ask what this means, and they could tell the story of God's faithfulness to lead them out of Egypt and into the promised land. And then at the end of Joshua's life, at the place called Shechem, he set up a stone, and he told the entire people of God, he said, look, this stone stands here today as a witness against us if we do not obey God's word, if we do not obey his commands. And then last week, as we were in 1 Samuel, there's an interesting story that I just want to ask you to pay. If you have a Bible with you, go ahead and open that up to 1 Samuel chapter 4, all the way through chapter 7. It tells a story about how God brought his people back to himself, to renew the promise, to continue his provision, and to remind them exactly where he had placed them. So, here's the background of the story. The people of God have fallen away. Eli, the high priest, and his sons, they just weren't doing well managing the people, and they had really gotten far away from God. And so the Ark of the Covenant, which represented God's presence among them, had been taken away by their enemies. And they desired to have God's presence again. They just didn't know what to do. So finally, about 20 years later, they're with Samuel, and they beg Samuel, Samuel, will you please pray that God's favor would return to us? And so Samuel said, here's what I want you to do. I want you to throw away all your foreign gods, and I want you to basically commit yourself to the one true God, and God will return. And so we find in chapter 7 where Samuel is praying, the people have fasted, they have confessed their sins to God, and we find here in verse 10, as Samuel is sacrificing to the Lord, he basically finds that the Philistines are about to rout them out. So this is what it says in verse 10. Just as Samuel was sacrificing the burnt offerings, the Philistines arrived to attack Israel. But the Lord spoke with a mighty voice of thunder from heaven that day. And the Philistines were thrown into such confusion that the Israelites defeated them. The men of Israel chased them from Mitzpah to a place called Bethkar, slaughtering them along the way. In verse 12 it says, Samuel then took a large stone and placed it between the towns of Mitzpah and Jeshanah. And he named it Ebenezer, which means the stone of help. For he said, up to this point, the Lord has helped us. Or in that translation, thus far, the Lord has been our help. So you see, here's another memorial stone that basically establishes the fact that God will do his work and God will help us if we are fully his. And so today, I want to allow us to give a prayer of thanksgiving for God's incredible promise and provision and what he's done to put us here in this city. So if you just for a moment bow with me and let's give thanks on this Thanksgiving weekend. Father in heaven, a wonderful holy God, we just sit here quietly in awe and wonder of your goodness that you've placed upon us. Goodness that we don't deserve, goodness that we could not have really done for ourselves. And simply because of that, we were humble before you. And in this humility, we give a genuine gratitude and thanks for all that you've done for us as a church, in our family, and for us individually. We give this thanksgiving in hopes to honor you among the people of the city in order to make you famous, so that your glory can be made known among this town and these people, and that your kingdom would be advanced to bring this glory in greater ways. We give thanks in Jesus' name. Amen. You know, as I came to Westgate back in June, I had come from a small church here in San Jose. And before I had come here 5 years ago, I had been in a rather large church, a very large church in Southern California area. And I had come from a church where we had everything. We had big programs and we had a lot of resources. And then I came to San Jose, and I was in a small church where we had really no resources and we could hardly put on any program. And it was a struggle just to survive. And I remember many times Steve calling me and offering help and whatever we needed there. And Westgate stepped up several times to help our small struggling church. And then coming to Westgate, I began to really see firsthand all of the things that we had done and we were doing, and I began to take a look at some of the stuff that we were giving towards and what we were planning as far as ministries, and I was simply humbled by your generosity and by your goodness. Now, I want to be careful. This isn't to just say, okay, let's just take a moment and just pat ourselves on the back. This is not a yay us party. This is a yay God party. But for you to know and for you to be able to remember, I want to be able to list some things for you to see just the incredible goodness and favor of God placed upon us because of your willingness to obey. This past October, we had our annual business meeting, and I laid out all kinds of information. By the way, how many people were at the annual business meeting? Anybody? Yeah, take a look around. There's not a single hand raised. We only had 16 people at the annual business meeting. Now, on one hand, that's a good sign because, no one shows up at an annual business meeting. That's usually a sign of a good health in the church. No one's concerned about what's going on. And when everybody shows up, that's not a good thing because everybody wants answers. But at the annual business meeting, we began to lay out all the things that God had done for us financially and in ministry. And the elders were so excited about where we were and how well we were doing. They felt it was important that the whole church knew. And so that's when we decided that we would have this gathering this morning to kind of let you know some of the things that God has done. So I'm going to give you a lot of information. I'm going to go through it really quick. If you have any questions, because there needs to be some blanks filled in, come up afterwards and see me, and I'll do my best to try and fill in the blanks for you. But quickly, here are the facts. In just the past few years, in the growth of Westgate Church, from our fiscal year 2007-2008 to this past year, 2011-2012, our average weekly attendance went from 1,287 to 2,108. That's an increase of 64%. Our financial strength in that same fiscal time went from 2,483,000 to 3,752,000 in our general giving. And that's an increase of 51%. But our total giving, this is not towards our operations of our church, our total giving, all giving considered, it went from 4.3 million to 5 million, just a little over. And that's an increase of 16.6%. You say, well, that's not a huge gain. But if you remember back in 2007, 2008, we were in the middle of a campaign called Impact 2.0. And we were raising the funds to complete this worship center. And you gave generously to that. And then after that campaign was over, we began another campaign. But this past year, let's take a look at this. General offerings have been up 13%. Attendance has been up 11%. Our total giving up 12%. And you might think, well, what is that comprised of? Well, you gave, and take a look at this slide right up here. This past year, you can see the full breakdown, the general offering at $3.7 million, and Impact 50/50 and Impact Gate, that's capital building funds. Then Faith Promise, and then Beautiful Day. 90,000 to Beautiful Day. Mission Trips, 188,000 went to missions. Advent Conspiracy, 109,000. Benevolence, 5,600. Disaster Relief, 7,500. A total of over $5 million. Now, when you think of what that was and what we spent that out, take a look at how we spent that, not just on us. That's the general offering giving. You look, what was that remainder? Outside the walls, we gave to many different organizations and different relief efforts. And it was a total of $184,000 just this past year alone that we were able to give outside of what we normally bring in just to operate the church. One of the things that we did in our 50/50, now if you're not familiar with the 50/50 campaign, this is the campaign that we started when we did the Kids Town building. And we went, we're not going to just bring in money just for ourselves. It was important to see not only our needs, but the needs of others. And so we had a campaign called 50/50, which we are still in, and we have about 6-8 months left to go, or 6-7 months to go to May. And if you've not heard of this, you can still join in and be a part of this incredible work of God. And we have about $490,000 left to come in on the pledges. Don't give up on that, because 50% will go to help retire the debt on this property, and 50% will go to ministries outside our walls. We've funded ministry in Zimbabwe, in Haiti, in the Philippines. This last year alone, you can see there was over $360,000 that were given just to those couple projects alone. And we still have more to do. And we're planning on spending that as soon as we get all of the information that we need from these organizations so that we can feel faithfully confident that this money is going to the right place at the right time. This past year, in June when I came here, we owed $1.7 million on this property. And we were able to pay that down over $600,000, and now we have less than $114,000. Sorry. That's what happens when you have to go through numbers really fast. $1,114,000 left. And we're on track to retire our debt. With this past fiscal year, we approved our new budget as we're in right now at $3.6 million. That's an increase of only 6% over the year before. We have planned and funded our improvements in our facility. That means all the things that we need to do to take care of our facility. It's already been planned, and we've already set aside the money for it. We're not going to have to come to you and say, well, we need to repair the roof. Can you come up with some more money? We've already taken care of that. And we've also funded an operational contingency fund of up to 3 months of what we like a rainy day fund, just in case something happens and you weren't able to give and we just needed to continue our ministry. We have already looked ahead to fund that. We just completed a independent study of our financials by an outside auditing company, and they have looked at our books, and they have just said to us, and I'll put it in layman's terms, you guys are eating your Wheaties, you're running your miles, you're getting enough sleep, and you're working hard. In other words, you got a clean bill of health. And that's great news. Now, I've been whipping through this, but I want to give you a pause for a moment. Have you heard any kind of news like this lately, where everything is going good? And we're amazed. The leadership of this church is just amazed at God's favor upon us. And that favor has come through you. So we're so grateful for your faithfulness. We're so thankful for your obedience. And don't give up. Keep on keeping on. And God will continue to do great things. Now here's the party part. Why we're celebrating today is because these things that we're seeing are so good. We have to stop. And now I mentioned that little story about 1 Samuel and God's people coming back to him and then setting up a stone memorial called Ebenezer. For those of you who've been in the church for any length of period of time, you probably sung a hymn that had a line in it that made no sense whatsoever. It says, "Here now we raise our Ebenezer." Now you know what it means. Here now we raise the aspect that God has been our help. Here is our stone of help. Here's the proof of his goodness and faithfulness to us. And that's why we celebrate today. So let's get down to the parties. You know, when we talked about parties, we talked about having the wedding party. And the Bible tells us that those who become followers of Jesus become part of the bride of Christ. Well, this past year, 23 of you have told us that you have become part of the bride. You've walked down the aisle to Jesus. As it comes to a pool party representing those who would get in the water, 131 of you got baptized. A holiday party. Are you ready for this? A holiday party. We know at Christmas and Easter, we have a party here. And at Christmas Eve, we had 3,636 people here on our campus. And at Easter, we had 4,197 people. Here's one I really like. In our going away party, you know, we have a thing here called Global Outreach. We call it GO. Our going away party, we had 7 missions trips this past year with 90 people going. And that's not including the one that's going on right now in Mexico. That's awesome. You people want to go serve others in other countries. Our housewarming party, this past year we made many improvements to the Westgate campus. Our landscaping and our grounds, we took care of them. We also did major improvements to the gym so our student ministries could have an incredible place to gather and do ministry. We renovated the theater, and I love the theater. It's great over there. If you haven't been there, check it out because we have now provided more opportunities for people to come and be a part of what's happening here at Westgate. On our office party, we hired many new people to participate in the staff at Westgate because as our ministries grow, we need more people to serve those ministries. And I won't tell you, you can see their names up there up on their screen there. This past year, in our graduation party, we had 43 people go to a newcomer's dessert. We had 107 people attend Explore. We had 164 people go through Discovery, and we had 177 people become 640 disciples. That's awesome. And we also have right now 100 life groups, and we have 1,155 people participating in life groups. This is good news for our church. And then when it comes to a birthday party, we've been a part of an organization here called Vision 360, where we're helping plant churches all over the South Bay. And we've funded that, and we've actually come alongside other churches that have gotten going. And we said, do you need some help? Can we help give you some money to get you going? And we've done that. Particularly, we launched a church out of Westgate this past year, this September, called Awakening Church. Its launch had over 500 people, and they're holding those numbers today. That is awesome. Now, that's just some of the great stuff that's happening, but we've got one party left to talk about, and that's the "Are you kidding me" party. That's the Red Solo Cup party. Are you kidding me? So I'm going to ask John to come back up, and he's going to tell you a little bit about the crazy stuff that God's been doing.
Dan gives me the Red Solo Cup party. This year we've seen God do some epic things here at Westgate. Through our compassion efforts and reaching out into our city, I'm just amazed. This is one of those things that you dream about when I was in seminary and divinity school, just being part of a church. Some of you remember back the first Sister Act movie? Do you remember that? And there was this scene where they actually go out into the community, and all the sisters were like, this is what we're supposed to be doing. Because it broke this tradition. And for us, it's the same type of thing, where we're saying we choose to live outside and live our faith out in our community in such a way that they have no choice but to see the light. They have no choice but to see Jesus. And our living compassion is born out of what is formed and framed in you through 640 discipleship. That's why we drive this home. The fact that we call you to something, we don't go into the community to get some sort of result from them. We go because of the result that's happening inside of us. As Christ is formed in you, and you want to live like Jesus, you live a compassionate life. You live a life of service. You live a life of justice. And so that's what Beautiful Day has just launched that out in ways that we would have never imagined. We've been able to cross all kinds of lines, gang lines, denominational lines, political party lines, the separation of church and state lines. We've been able to cut through red tape, the red tape of bureaucracy, government policy, school district committees. Your generosity, we've been able to start funding literally thousands of dollars. What we've done is to create catalyst churches in all the 10 districts of San Jose. San Jose is made up of 10 districts. There's about 100,000 people in each district. And there's no way that one church, like Westgate, can say, hey, we're going to reach and do compassion in the entire city. There's no way we can do that. And so the best way is to set up catalyst churches that we're partnered with based on our relationship. And then we funded them so they can do compassion projects just like we did. That happened this last year. We have 10 catalyst churches in San Jose because of the generosity of this church and the leadership that's happening and what God is doing and the favor that God is showing in us. We want to steward that so what's happening here happens for our entire city. That's reaching the city for Christ. That's a big deal. This next year, as we look at 2013, we're looking at doing the same thing and creating catalyst churches in the entire Santa Clara County on top of the 10 districts within San Jose. We may see revival in the South Bay through compassion and through justice and through service and through the church getting outside the walls. We've seen all kinds of stuff. Our compassion efforts demonstrated through your acts of service and generosity has served the South Bay and served San Jose in an amazing way. Just this last year, we do so many different things that happen either on this campus for serving the city or out in the city. One of the things that we do right here is we do a teacher appreciation. For the different school districts that we serve. Teachers come here. You don't realize that we turn this thing into a comedy club. It's very similar to what we do on Sunday anyway. It's a lot like a comedy club anyway. But we do a comedy show for the teachers just to say we appreciate you. You know why? Because their budgets are dead. And so we're like, we'll do it here. We've got some funny people. So we do a comedy show here. We did last year. We did just Westgate did campus renovation at a school called Pomeroy in Santa Clara, where we renovated their teachers' lounge. Teachers were coming in like, "Are you kidding me? They got a new flat screen TV. Teachers aren't even teaching anymore. They're in there watching Oprah." We created a new community garden for them, a kind of outdoor classroom garden. Repainted murals, did all kinds of stuff. Did a huge blood drive. We worked in the Gardner and Burbank districts. You know, we turned this auditorium for kids with special needs and disabilities, we turned this into a dance party in here during Beautiful Day Week. It's so great to be part of. Who does that? I meet with churches that are still arguing whether you know, dancing stimulates the lust of the flesh. I'm like, we know, who cares? We're doing a dance party here. There was one of our Catalyst churches did a renovation on one of the high school campuses on the east side called Mount Pleasant. And it was just a very discouraged and depressed campus. And they had hundreds of people go in. This last year, one of the things that was like unbelievable, red cup kind of thing, was I met with the principal at Prospect High School. Remember, for 8 years, I've tried to get into that school to try to serve our neighbors. We serve schools all over Santa Clara County. I can't get in the one across the street. So finally, they had a change in principal and leadership. And so I went and met with the principal. I said, yeah, we can do this. We can do all these kinds of things and power wash, blah, blah, all this stuff. And I'm just talking. And she says, you know what? The one thing you can do is you guys could come to our football games because nobody comes to our games. And so, remember, we came back here and we created a compassion flash mob. And we said, we're going to go over. And we went over there. It was the largest football game attendance they've ever had. Are you kidding me? I remember the line going out. The students, the football team, they lost horribly. And they said, that's the best game of our life. Why? Because Westgate showed up. God's favor is on our church. There's things that are happening. And we just need to steward it, and we need to stay in it. The football team came over with a signed, autographed picture of the team. Skinny little kids in big old football uniforms. Cute as heck. Steve met with the athletic director, and our elder board approved some funding for them because they're in a financial hole in some of their sporting programs. Because of your generosity, because of what God's doing here. That's why we celebrate. There's all kinds of things that are going on. This last year, we were able to do projects in and around our area, or just this last weekend, in and around our area. If you haven't walked the triangle, you can go to different areas. We got remulched every area that could use mulch. You know, mulch covers a multitude of sins. You know that. So we've remulched so much stuff, and we've done cleaning and sweeping and repainting and just all power washing, all kinds of stuff on the entire triangle that surrounds Westgate. I went over and talked to Eddie, who's the manager of the car wash, and he looked at me and says, "Are you kidding me?" That's because of your generosity and God's favor on our church. There's a passage that I love, and I quote it often. It's from 2 Chronicles chapter 16. It says this, "The eyes of the Lord search to and fro throughout the whole earth, that he may show himself strong on behalf of those whose hearts are completely his." That is why we drive discipleship. As you continue to devote your heart and your life, the totality of your being, to who Christ is in you, his favor is upon us. And we're able to do unbelievable things. I watched this video of Beautiful Day last week.
Something about you tells me you could use just a day or two. There's something about you shows the nights do hold you down. So you say, but dying for the struggle now. You are waiting for
Cool. If you have in your notes, I want to take you back to your notes real quick. Because there's another type of party. And that's the party, if you write in your notes, affiliation. Affiliation. And affiliation would be something like this, like a political party. I'm a Republican, or I'm a Democrat. I'm a liberal, I'm a conservative. Or I'm of a Labor Party, or whatever. And you are affiliated with that party based on your worldview. And so, our affiliation, whether we like it or not, is the religious party. The religious party. You know, when you meet people and they'll oh yeah, he's religious. And you get that connection point, whether you like it or not. Because we are of faith and Christian faith is a religion, we're connected to the religious party. And the religious party has these perceptions and preconceived ideas that automatically get connected and associated with you. You do nothing, you talk too much, you're condemning, you're hateful, you're judgmental. And that's part of the association that happens. And that's one of the reasons why we worked super hard at connecting people to faith in true religion. James talks about it real quickly here in James chapter 1, verse 27. It's almost as if God knew this would be a problem. And he gave us this qualifier that helps us understand what this religious piece means. James chapter 1. It says, religion that God our Father accepts as pure and faultless is this: to look after orphans and widows in their distress, and to keep oneself from being polluted by the world. There's this qualifier of what that is. See, we will be a church that will live this out and to say, you know what, if that's religion, then it's religion that cares for widows, cares for orphans, cares for those in the margins and the cracks and the shadows of society, and we will stand alongside them. In your notes, there's two different kinds of parties that I want to throw down. There's three, but I want to throw these two right at you. The first is this, is the innocent party. The innocent party, and we stand alongside for compassion. The other is the injured party, and we stand alongside them for justice. What we have coming up, and Dan alluded to it in the numbers there, is Advent Conspiracy. And Advent Conspiracy is our chance to give, to respond to widows, to orphans, to those in need, to those broken, to those innocent, and those injured. Advent Conspiracy is really this idea, and if you're new, this is how it works. What we do is we want to trump the system of Christmas and consumerism and say, you know what, we don't have to continue to give and give and give more gifts to people that, you know what, have almost everything anyway. What if we were to go back to the idea of giving gifts of presents, of time together, creative ideas, making things like we used to when we were kids. Something that says, you know what, you're meaningful to me. That actually means more to me because of the thought that was put into it. And then the money that we would have spent on those gifts, we actually are doing a special offering on the 15th and the 16th of December. And those funds are designated for clean water wells, clean water projects throughout the world. 100% of those funds go out. What if the gifts that we would have given become clean water gifts for those in need, the innocent and the injured? That's the kind of religion that James is talking about, to care for widows and orphans. And that's what I want to be part of. So we'll be doing that on the 15th and the 16th, to spend less and to give more. Last one, and you'll see it right in there, Party for All, which is we are all part of the guilty party. The guilty party. The Bible talks about it, and he's very clear. All have sinned. All. That means y'all, as Steve were here. All have sinned and fall short of the glory of God. We're part of that. And so, by definition, we are guilty. But because of God's grace, because of God's love for us, and the person and work of Jesus, we have found hope. We have found grace, we found truth, we found new life in Christ. And so as the guilty party who are redeemed, it is our role to serve, to bless, and to bring that grace to the rest of the guilty party around us. That becomes our role. That becomes who we are. The Westgate Church, and I talk about it to other people that ask me as I meet with them in the community, other pastors and leaders, why is God's favor on Westgate? I don't know. Here's what I know for sure. We are going to continue to be faithful about calling you to follow Christ. And however that plays out, in your generosity and blessing the city, God's favor is on us, clearly. And we're just going to steward that. And we're going to respond to it. And we're going to work out, continue to press into our city. We're going to continue to call you to higher levels of discipleship, higher levels of commitment to Christ, going deeper in your faith. We're convinced of that. So as the recipients of God's favor, we recognize that, when you go to a party, there's a party favor. And there's two kinds of favors, and I wanted to throw them out to you. The first is this: you go to a party and they give you a favor, a party popper. And I'm going to everyone gets a party popper when you leave here. Now, these are lethal. Please don't pop them in each other's face. They actually explode a little bit. But a party popper. And this is our Ebenezer. This is our memorial. This is our reminder to celebrate. God is doing phenomenal things, His favors upon our church. I want you to take this and put it somewhere. When you're feeling down, not really sure, you're in your office, whatever, just go and pop that bad boy. You know what I mean? You just feel like, what's going on? Oh, I'm just feeling God's favor on my life right now. Oh, we thought it was a drive-by shooting. But, just God's favor. So every party needs a party favor. But also, every party has a what? A pooper. Yeah, I said pooper in church. Every party has a pooper. Don't be a party pooper. Every party has a pooper. And you know what that actually looks like? A pooper is somebody that says, is not involved. Somebody that sits on the sidelines and says, I'll let somebody else do that. Somebody who's critical and uber critical or skeptical and says, this is ridiculous. Somebody that throws a wet blanket on what God is doing. That, my friend, is a pooper. You have a choice. Popper or pooper. My friends, let's celebrate what God is doing. His favor is on us. It translates from us to our children. I'll tell you a story real quickly, and then I'll finish with this. We work in the schools here in Moreland. And one of the schools, we have a school rep that works at all the schools. Every school has a rep. And I meet with all the principals twice a year. Just to say, hey, if there's things that you need, if there's just things that we can respond to, we like the first choice. First option to respond to that need. If we can, we'll do it. If we can't, we'll tell you. But we want to be able to have the opportunity to respond to the needs. And so now they're calling on a regular basis to say, here's a family need, here's a crisis, here's a situation, can you help us with this? It's wonderful. So at school, this is just last week, called and said, we got an issue, we got a situation. We have a family, some bad decisions, some breakups, some whatever else, and now they've got a family living in a car. Homeless. 2 kids. And they need some money. And so I met with a rep, and she went. I said, go back to the school and tell them, we're happy to help. Whatever we can do, we want to jump in. They need some immediate funds right now, and then they need to somehow get the family to Northern California to live with another family member. I said, great. Let them know we're in. And so she goes back to the school to meet with the principal and meet with the person. And as she's meeting with the principal, they're talking about the best plan. And she asked about the immediate needs. What are some of the funds and immediate needs that they have? And the secretary of the school leans in. She says, somebody's already taken care of that. And she leans in and she goes, it was a kid, a 7-year-old from Westgate. I'm like, are you kidding? Yes. I promise you. Remember, we talked about this last week. They catch this. As we continue to work and to function in God's favor and to continue to call you, your kids will live what you are living. And we want our kids to do that too. Gang, let's be party poppers. And continue to spread the love of Christ in our city in a way we've never imagined. Will you stand with me for prayer? God, we're grateful for the opportunity to be here as a church in your light, in your favor, in your grace, as the guilty party, but recognizing your work in us and among us, through us in a way we would have never imagined. And will you continue to do a work in our church and call us to higher levels of discipleship and deeper commitments to you. And in such a way, it just honors you, it blesses our city, and Christ's name is made great. We pray in Christ's name. Amen.